Let's take it from the Gateway Pundit. Space Force Unit Commander removed from his post for decrying Marxism in the military. Here is a file photo of Captain Matthew Lohmeyer as he was fired and put under investigation for anti-Marxist comments he made during a podcast. Matthew Lohmeyer, a lieutenant colonel, a former fighter pilot, was a commander of a unit that detected ballistic missile launches, but was relieved of his duties on Friday by Lieutenant General Stephen Whiting. Lohmeyer earlier this month self-published a book titled Irresistible Revolution, Marxism's Goal of Conquest and the Unmaking of the American Military. Lohmeyer spoke about his book and criticized CRT, or critical race theory, with L. Todd Wood, host of the podcast Information Operation. This upset the woke, the commies, Marxist sympathizers in the U.S. military, and Lohmeyer was promptly removed from his post. Lieutenant Colonel Matthew Lohmeyer, commander of 11th Space Warning Quadrant at Buckley Air Force Base, Colorado, was relieved of his post Friday by Lieutenant General Stephen Whiting, the head of Space Operations Command, over a loss of confidence in his ability to lead. The decision was based on public comments made by Lieutenant Colonel Lohmeyer in a recent podcast. Lieutenant General Whiting has initiated a command-directed investigation on whether these comments constituted prohibited partisan political activity. I was apprised of the option to have my book reviewed at the Pentagon's pre-publication security prior to release, but was also informed that it was not required. So you have two things going on. One is he self-published a book, and in addition, he also made some comments on a podcast to coincide with the publication of his book. And obviously, if you're going to criticize the commies in charge, then that's going to bring down some fire on you, and unfortunately, it looks like he may be a casualty. Now, remember, this is an investigation. He may get his job back, but the point at the end of the day is that if you can't even talk about the communist takeover of American institutions, including the military, what can you really talk about, right? What can you really talk about? And I understand that you don't want the military to be partisan, right? You don't want you don't want people in uniform saying, hey, I'm going to vote for this D guy or this R guy or this other guy. Totally understand that. But we have to understand that all things are political. It's just a matter of degree. It's whether or not they're very and extremely political or they're barely politically related. Gone are the yesteryears where many things were not political. Like if you ate ice cream, it wasn't political. Now it's political, right? Because if you eat ice cream, well, hey, is that milk or the milk that was used in that ice cream, is it from cows? Oh man, then you hate animals and hey, you should be a vegan. You shouldn't eat ice cream at all. And even if you get past that, it's like, well, you can get Ben & Jerry's communist Antifa ice cream, right? You can literally buy ice cream by a billionaire corporation that hates you and thinks Antifa and communism is great. That's quite political, right? So at the end of the day, everything is political. We just have to make an arbitrary line for a lack of a better standard and say, well, maybe you can't do that. Now, is the line where you criticize communism and Marxism the line? I don't think so. I don't think so. If your institutions are allegedly based on a foundation of freedom of thought and all these sorts of things, and you have the ability to say what you want, it doesn't make any sense to me why saying that Marxism would be a bad thing, because Marxism is literally the opposite of free speech and Western civilization. It's literally diametrically opposed to those ideals. So to say, it would be like, would it be, here's a question for you, would it be politically wrong? Would it be beyond what you should be able to do in the military to say that we should defend America? Would that be too political? Because you think about this. If Marxism fully takes hold of America, and in many respects it already has, right? Then is the military even defending America? I don't know what the answer is. But it looks like Lohmeyer is going to find out, unfortunately, and hopefully he'll be cleared of all this and he can go back to duty. And that's the thing, right? Is they make rules, but they generally just punish one side. If Lohmeyer said Black Lives Matter, Trans Lives Matter, and all this other stuff, do you think he would have been disciplined? I don't think so. More than likely, they would have said nothing and just let him rant on with all his communist beliefs. But because he's going against the narrative, well, then he has to get punished. So it's this idea of, hey, we're going to be fair and impartial and we have these rules, you better follow them. But if you're on one side of the political spectrum, we're going to enforce the rules. If you're on the other side, mum's the word. Now, his book, Irresistible Revolution, Marxism's Goal of Conquest and the Unmaking of the American Military, it's only been out for a week. Now, on Amazon, it has 3.5 stars. So a lot of people are saying it's quite on the money. The ratings, not that high, but look at the ratings. 5 stars, 64%, 1 star, 31%. What does that tell you about the people leaving 1-star reviews? Did they actually even read it? It is very interesting. Jack Posobiec has pointed out that it is now currently number 6 on all books on Amazon. Look at number 1, Dr. Seuss. We have Mark Levin, American Marxism. Very interesting. And then we have Irresistible Revolution for number 6. So there is demand for anti-communism, anti-Marxist stuff. Right? Why is 1, 2, and 6 on there, right? Let me know what you think in the comments section below. As always, you can find the content on Gab, BitChute, Minds, Odyssey, Rumble, Substack, JoshU. And you can also find me on Subscribestar. And thanks again. I'll see you all in the next video.